across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. Stand by for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate and a whole lot of fury. I am your host, Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'll be with you all the way to 10 o'clock. It's your show too, so get involved, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number, and I promise to play your message out. It is Monday, August the 11th. Here's what's coming up. 1 week into 2 tiers amazing one in, one out swap of foreigners scheme, and you know the plan that was supposed to deter these small boat crossers. And guess what? More than 1,000 are poured over from France, an armada of invaders who were clearly not deterred in the slightest. So much for that. 0344 499 1000. If 1,000 are going to come across with the threat of, 2 tiers, you will face deportation. If 1,000 are going to come across in the first week, that's it. It just has not worked. It is not deterring the passengers, the migrants, or the people smugglers. So much for that. 0344 499 1000. Another one bites the dust. Meanwhile, the people smugglers' fantastically profitable billion-pound business continues apace. And in a Political Asylum exclusive, I'll show you how the gangs that stupid Starmer has so spectacularly failed to smash are blatantly posting adverts for their nautical services online, on social media, and especially on TikTok. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper boldly announced she's going to ban these ads. Well, wouldn't it be better to let these crooks carry on and use their shameless commercials to track them down and arrest them and, dare I say it, smash their gangs? 0344 499 1000. In other news, looks like old liar Starmer has been telling us fibs again, insisting that mysteriously giving away the strategic Chagos Islands and then paying China's best friend Mauritius to rent the airport would cost Britain £3.4 billion over the next 20 years or so. If you were furious about that, prepare to be a lot more furious, 10 times more furious, in fact, because the actual amount we are going to pay for an archipelago that until recently was British territory is £34.7 billion. 10 times more than our disastrously dishonest Prime Minister told us. Isn't that special? 0344 499 1000. £35 billion for an island that was ours. We give it away, and now it's going to cost us £35 billion to rent it. Am I missing something here? Or is this just absolute insanity? 0344 499 1000. Very strategic, of course, the Chagos Islands as well. So we've endangered our own safety and the safety of America and, in fact, the safety of the Western world. 0344 499 1000. Also tonight, from September to March, the government released 26,000 dangerous prisoners, putting them on course for 45,000 in their first year. Britain's total jail population is nearly 88,000, so more than half of the prisoners in our jails unleashed onto the streets and onto an unsuspecting public. If we can build 7 Nightingale hospitals in 3 weeks, why can't they build temporary holding pens? Maybe convert some of these disused military bases, the air bases, like they did for the asylum seekers. Why can't we do that? 0344 499 1000, rather than let out very dangerous men. Plus, the 150,000 student visa migrants that the government has simply lost track of, and the problem of what to do with the 522 mainly middle-class virtue signallers arrested on Saturday for their illegal support of prescribed terrorist group Palestine Action. These people have broken the terrorism laws, and that is a very serious offence. Usually punishable by jail. How many will be sent to prison? Will two-tier bang them up for grotesquely disproportionate sentences as a warning? You know, like he did with the protesters after Southport last summer? I wonder. What do you reckon? 03444991000. Also, Reform UK's Mayor for Greater Lincolnshire, Dame Andrea Jenkins, on her fears for her own safety. The British Transport Police's bizarre search for the heroes who dealt with the passenger who dropped his trousers and pants in a crowded London tube carriage, warning him that there were kids on board. These guys bundled him off the train. Now the Transport Police say the men who did the decent thing are assault suspects and they're going to find them. Don't do that. Why? Are the cops actually serious? What's wrong with them? Guy drops his trousers in front of little kids. 4 guys, I think it was, maybe more. Took the matter into their own hands. So you get off this train. Bit physical, yes. And the British Transport Police want to find them and arrest them. Meanwhile, that guy who dropped his trousers looks like he's a sort of mental patient, so he's got problems. He's been dispatched off to some kind of hospital. But what is wrong with the British Transport Police? 03444991000. And I'll take a look at the latest chapter in the strange life of former Scottish leader Nicola Sturgeon, a new book in which she seems to struggle. She still seems to struggle with accepting that double rapist Adam Bryson, who likes to call himself Isla, is a bloke and very much not a woman. Nicola still can't bring herself to say that. They identify as a woman, she says. They identify as a woman. No, Nicola. He is a bloke. What is wrong with her? 03444991000. And as for those reports about Nick, those lesbian rumours and clearing things up about her sexuality, she doesn't. And finally, Kinsey Schofield on Meghan and Harry's incredible new deal with Netflix. Is it too good to be true? You decide. 03444991000. All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Monday night together. And without further ado, let's go over to my first guest for the first 60 minutes, so just under that now. She is, of course, Talk's amazing international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Welcome, Isabel.
Hi, you're cheering me up. It's just the way you say it about Isla Bryson or whatever her name is, who is very definitely a bloke. It's really not complicated, is it?
Did you see the interview? She did an interview with Julie Etchingham from ITN. I mean, Julie's going, well, look, it's a man, isn't it? She goes, well, no, they identify as a woman. What are you talking about, they? It's a single person. You know, and I read the Sunday Times, they've done a big interview with her. I'm damned if I'm going to read her boring book, because she's called Frankly. And frankly, it doesn't seem to me to be an exercise in massive honesty. But she's depicted, the Sunday Times said, surely one of the most effective female politicians of modern British history, up there with Margaret Thatcher. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You ask anyone in the SNP. The SNP were riding high. Who ruined the SNP? Oh, I know. It was Nicola Sturgeon who took them straight down a ridiculous identity politics rabbit hole and wrecked them. And now they're a spent force, thanks to this remarkable woman politician. I think she's a fairly strange person. We'll talk about her later in the show, but let's not talk about her now, for God's sake. Let's talk about one in, one out. Now, the deterrent effect, as I said ironically, is really starting to kick in. 1 week into this scheme, and more than 1,000 migrants have crossed the Channel. So quite clearly, this was supposed to be a deterrent. This is week 1. So right off the bat, it has not worked and will not work. Let's remind ourselves of the bold boast of Home Secretary Yvette Cooper talking about what she called the migrant pilot scheme on Sky News, I think it was last week.
We will provide regular updates for the public at every stage. That's why I'm confirming today that the pilot has now started and the first migrants who arrived on small boat are now in detention. The transfers to immigration removal centres are underway as we speak, so we won't provide operational details at this point that criminal gangs can simply use and exploit.
I don't see how they could use that information and exploit it, but we'll leave that. The whole point of this scheme is supposed to be that message gets across to France, to Calais, where thousands of young men are gathered waiting to come across, and that the message gets through, you know, 1 in 17 of you will be returned to France. First of all, I doubt that will ever happen. Secondly, 1 in 17 gives them a 94% chance of success. And that seems to be the message that is really resounding among these people, that they've got a 94% chance of not being selected and returned to France. So, well worth a roll of the dice, and the numbers in the first week of the 1 in, 1 out scheme prove it is not in even in the slightest, a deterrent. In fact, Isabel, the numbers in the week since they launched 1 in, 1 out, which is actually 17 in, 1 out, in the week since they launched that, actually the numbers are rather considerably higher than average. It's just a non-starter. It's gone. It's finished. It doesn't work.
It's a complete joke. I mean, it's, as far as I can see, 1,000 in and, well, who knows how many out, quite possibly none at all. I mean, the only way that this could possibly be a deterrent, but even this is a stretch, is if it was absolutely guaranteed that every single one that comes over will be returned. I mean, us having to take the same number in exchange definitely doesn't work for the British people. But if every single one who came over by boat was sent back, there's a possibility that that might slightly dent the trade. But saying that it's a pilot scheme and we're not going to tell you exactly how many will be sent back, because they're not really pretending at this stage that it's 1 in, 1 out. And they can't tell us for operational security. What a load of absolute baloney this is. I don't understand how otherwise intelligent people, and Yvette Cooper is an intelligent person, can sit round a table in some government kind of civil service boardroom and cook up a plan like this and go, yeah, this is a great idea. This is definitely going to act as a deterrent. Does no one around the table say, well, you know, maybe all the stories that are coming out of the UK about how if you go over there, you get put in an amazing hotel and you get free, what was it Mike Graham revealed this morning, you know, free dinghy rides. You might have thought they were so
Yeah, you might have thought they had enough of them. Yeah.
They didn't want that, you know, free phones, free everything that we're constantly highlighting on this programme. Removing that might at least stop or diminish the unbelievable appeal of the UK at this point. A fractional chance of being returned to France from where you can try again. It's never going to work as a deterrent.
Of course it's not. And Keir Starmer said last week, you know, in his best kind of forthright way, saying it's a send a clear message that from now on the migrants know that if you break our laws, you face being deported back to France. Face. So what he's actually saying, though, Isabel, is if you break our laws, nearly all of you will be forgiven and you'll get away with it, and we'll put you in a 4-star hotel, give you 50 quid a week, free dinghy rides and whatever. 16 out of 17 are effectively under this scheme being told it's fine for you to break our laws because we're going to let you get away with it. The 1 in 17 will be told, well, no, you're not getting away with breaking our laws and we're going to send you back to France. Then, of course, his lawyers, his immigration lawyers, as is their wont, will step on in and say, it's pretty unfair that you have just randomly chosen my client. That is not fair under any justice system. Every judge will go, you know what, you're absolutely right. So it'll fall at that fence. If it doesn't, on the off chance it doesn't, you know what the immigration lawyer is going to do is, well, actually, picking my client, 1 in 17, and then send him back to France is against his human rights. I am therefore filing a human rights case, and under the terms of this dismal deal that Keir Starmer has done with Macron, if any of these migrants lodge a human rights complaint, it must progress fully through the court system. That will take years. Again, therefore, the scheme doesn't even start. It fails on so many levels. It is pathetic, and it proves that this government, this is the disaster of this, that this government continues to feel that the way to deal with the migrant crisis is sort of performative headline hunting, to try and just give the impression to the people that they're doing something about this. They don't seem to have taken on board that actually what they need to do is something genuine. This is getting serious. These people are committing sex crimes. They're committing violent crimes. They're turning this country into a very unsafe place. And performative headline hunting is just not going to do.
I'm actually getting quite worried about how all this is going to play out, because I do think that people are snapping. You know, I think that our tolerance has been pushed way too far, and we're seeing these demonstrations in all sorts of different areas, and they're not necessarily huge demonstrations, but they're very real and they're very passionate, and they're people saying we've had enough of this. And I just wonder where this goes from here. I can't see that the government can continue with this policy, continue allowing the boats to come, even for another year. I think something is going to happen. I hope it's not something in which people get hurt. But that is, you know, if people get hurt somehow, I think it's on the government. I really do, because it's just pushing people too far.
Yeah, and just you talk about Mike revealing or covering the story that so many of these migrants get all this free stuff. And you and I have talked about this before. I don't think people understand the scale of it.
Yeah.
It's called, it's a national scheme. It's called the Asylum Seeker Support Scheme. And over the past 5 years, taxpayers have spent, they don't know they've spent this, but they have, to provide our asylum seeker friends with things like driving lessons, driving tests, trips to the zoo, trips to Premier League football matches, trips around the cricket ground, and so on and so forth. Video games, consoles, mobile phones. Apparently they all get the first thing they have once they arrive at their 4-star hotel that we're paying for. They have a terrible dilemma. Do they choose the iPhone or a Samsung phone that we give them? And so on and so forth. So the Asylum Seeker Support Scheme, people don't realise, over the past 5 years, has cost us, taxpayers, this is how much we've given to these people in terms of free gifts and free stuff and free trips. £6.6 billion. That's just for presents and gifts. It's obscene.
It is obscene, and it is so wrong. And, you know, I just think people are beginning to feel genuinely sickened by it. I don't know how it ever got this extreme. These people are pretty much by definition criminals. They have come to the UK illegally. They have not followed any correct systems. They have effectively broken into our country. And of course, we need to treat everybody with humanity and some dignity. But unless you make the UK a very hostile environment for criminals and chancers, then guess what? They're going to keep coming because other countries are getting pretty hostile about it. And one of the things I find most surprising is that this stupid government hasn't used Greece as a cover for declaring a national emergency. Greece has done it. They've effectively kind of derogated from the European Convention on Human Rights for a limited period, as they can do legitimately, because there's a national emergency there with illegal immigration. And since they've done that, and since they've made it very clear that they will not be at all welcoming to anyone who comes by boat illegally, the problem has gone away. This isn't actually that difficult.
Yeah, in other words, they've shown some resolve. Meanwhile, our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, says, I will stop at nothing to secure Britain's borders.
You know what? He hasn't started at anything.
He hasn't started doing anything. It's just ridiculous. He stops at ceasing virtually everything we give these people. Right off the back, if you didn't give them legal aid, if you didn't give them 4-star hotels, they probably cease coming. If you stopped giving them free food, 50 quid a week, free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers, all of these things the Prime Minister could do, that might stop the boats. But he's not doing any of that. He will I will stop at nothing to secure Britain's borders. What a pile of claptrap. Listen, we'll talk more about the migrant crisis and indeed the people smugglers business, who have not been deterred by the one-in, one-out scheme, as we've discussed, and the extraordinary phenomenon of the adverts that they blatantly, shamelessly place online, on social media, especially on TikTok. That's an exclusive from you, and we'll discuss that after this break. Stay tuned, folks.
They are a violent criminal organisation that has used terror tactics, including specifically against Jewish-owned businesses in this country, to further their cause. And when you support Palestine action, you are committing a criminal offence. And I don't give two hoots whether you're in your 60s or whether you're retired or whether you're blind or in a wheelchair, as one of the activists was, whether you look a little bit pathetic with your grey hair as you're being carted off by a big burly policeman. You knew you were breaking the law. You thought you were just such a virtuous soul.
Last time I was on this show, I was very angry with the handling of the police, the over-policing. It was actually embarrassing and quite cringy. I couldn't defend it. But they are listening. Far less police presence. If Essex Police are listening to this, please take down the stupid fence. We are not zoo animals in a cage. Please listen to that feedback. Women and children should not be behind bars because they want to peacefully protest. And the idea that it's for road safety is nonsense. I've been trying to get a fence outside a primary school in my area for 5 years because of safety, and the council aren't interested.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott, and this is another amazing Isabel Oakeshott exclusive. She brings them in with excellent regularity. And this one is about the adverts that these people smugglers are placing blatantly. You know, I've often wondered, we've seen, well, you sent your team over recently and they got all this footage of thousands and thousands and thousands of young men milling around the coast around Calais, waiting, you know, for their dinghy, you know, for their turn to cross. I've often wondered, you know, how they choose which one, how it all happens. Well, your story begins to explain that, insofar as they're placing adverts, you know, on all the social media, but especially TikTok. So basically, they're telling migrants, you know, how much it'll cost, and you know, how to pay, so on and so forth. They talk about instead of crossing the channel illegally, they talk about playing a game. So they playing a game means they're going to cross. Look at these adverts, right? Well, why don't you talk us through it? And
So what do you do if you live in Somalia or Eritrea or Sudan or wherever it is, and you want to get to the UK, you want to do so illegally? It's really not. In fact, it's remarkably easy to find someone to facilitate that for you. You know, it didn't take us long on. Particularly on TikTok.
By the way, the advert, I haven't seen, these adverts are astonishing.
They're extraordinary.
So they're showing now an aeroplane, which is presumably somewhere out of flying people to Europe. Then how they would make themselves, these are ones that are going to get you past Greece and all that to Italy. But also, of course, there's the cross-channel ones as well. But anyway, sorry, Isabel, I interrupted.
Well, what for those that can't see what we're showing here, essentially, if you are an illegal immigrant and you want to make your way from Africa, for example, or the Middle East to the UK, undercover, as it were, you just need to do a little bit of time browsing on social media and you will find no end of adverts, basically, placed by the people smugglers and or their foot soldiers. It's very easy to connect with these people smugglers or their representatives. I've watched it be done. I've had my own researchers on this. I mean, I could probably connect with a people smugglers representative in the next 20 minutes if I wanted to. And there they are on the end of a WhatsApp. You know, the extraordinary thing about these websites which advertise different methods of getting to the UK undetected is that they all give mobile phone numbers, for example. I mean, doesn't that give the police some pretty heavy clues about where they are? I mean, there are all sorts of clever satellite tracking systems now that show where phones are. I think that they're pretty useful. These are effectively pretty bold fingerprints from the so-called evil gangs that Keir Starmer wants to smash all over the internet. I don't understand why undercover officers aren't posing as customers and following the trail and seeing how far it gets them. I mean, is it some health and safety thing that they can't integrate?
Probably.
I mean, why not pose as a migrant and make the journey across and see who you connect with and try and get to the bottom of how this works operationally. And these people are operating in plain sight. I mean, what I am struck by is how little need they feel to actually hide what they're doing. So far from that, they're actually very obviously promoting their illegality. By the way, we're showing at the moment
the coach.
a bus company called Flixbus. The people smugglers, some of them evidently think that Flixbus is a particularly safe way to get to the UK illegally. They'll get you places on those Flixbus services. We have spent much of this afternoon trying to get a response from Flixbus about that? Do they know that their coaches are being used in adverts for illegal immigration, despite multiple efforts and being very clear that we were going to name them? The company has not come back to us. So I don't know whether they know about it or they don't. But
well,
if
they're in the advert that we can see, and that's that. So it's up to incumbent upon them to. But I'm just for the audience who aren't watching and are just tuned into the radio. I mean, these videos are astonishing. I mean, they're showing basic routes all the way from the various places where the migrants tend to. So there's the Middle East, there's Africa via Italy and up through France, Middle East across past Greece up to the sort of northern bit of Italy, and then through France, then of course to Calais, where you can see a graphic of a sort of rather romantic sailboat going across the channel, where of course they're not sailboats, are they? They're what we call small boats that tend to be dinghies with outboard motors. But there's like a kind of coach train system. So is this a fully fledged system being advertised, service being advertised, by which you can obviously get from the Middle East or Africa all the way to Britain via the channel? Blatant adverts on TikTok. That Yvette Cooper's response to this was, I'm going to make them illegal. As you say, Isabel, yes, of course they should be made illegal, but in the meantime, wouldn't it be a good idea for some of the Border Security Command to actually have a look at who's placing these adverts, maybe try and answer one. Maybe then you could get some information that, I don't know, call me controversial, possibly with that information you could, drum roll, smash the gangs. Be worth a try, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and you know what we showed there was a sort of graphics and diagrams, but these websites also show lots of happy customers. They do show hundreds of migrants getting into boats. They show them hoisting the rigid inflatable boats on their shoulders and running down to the beach to launch these vessels. They also have their whole own terminology, which I imagine is a way to try to dodge the sort of social media algorithms that might flag them up as illegal sites. So instead of saying, safe illegal passage to the UK, the words that they use is safe game. Anything called safe game means that the people smugglers, believe that getting their human cargo from A to B is not going to cause any problems. No one's going to interfere with that.
And they advertise the visa-free route to Britain. Quick comment from you, Isabel, on this very disturbing aspect of all this, that quite often, or in some cases, there's no need to pay up front. Instead, if you're a customer, you can work off the debt by working illegally in the UK. That's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, now I sort of pointed to this a few weeks ago on our show, Kev, but things have moved on a bit since then, because we translated some of the exchanges on these websites, which are in Arabic, into English. And, there's a customer on there saying, what happens if I can't pay? And the people smuggler representative basically says, I'm paraphrasing here, no worries, mate, just work for us for a couple of months. I actually think that work would have to be probably on the French side and probably operationally, helping manage the other customers that are coming in. So I don't think this is just bringing sort of slave labour, as it were, to the UK. It's also probably happening in France. Something else I wanted to highlight from these extraordinary TikTok adverts. One in particular I saw. There's a woman, it shows a woman forging British passports, what look like British passports, and no attempt whatsoever is made to conceal her features. They show her full face and they're right up close. You can see the identity.
She's an artist, Isabel. She deserves credit for her talent.
Well, she's wearing a lanyard, so I'm wondering who she's actually working on. Fred can't quite see who the lanyard is. I mean, I don't know. I just think that what is so astonishing is how brazen this is.
Yeah.
And what that tells you is how low they all think the risk is of anyone doing anything about it.
This really is extraordinary, and you know, why aren't the authorities, why aren't the Border Security Command doing something about this? These are, you know, obvious avenues into investigating, maybe cracking these gangs. Interesting stuff, fantastic stuff, actually. Well, look, let's move on, and then we'll have a deep dive into some of the other problems that we've got going on in this country. Let's talk about Keir Starmer's absolutely shocking lies about the Chagos Islands. Also, the fact that the government's released 26,000 prisoners so far this since September to March, putting them on course to probably, by the end of the year, having released 45,000 prisoners. Now, when you think that our total prison population is just shy of 88,000, that's a lot of people to be releasing, isn't it? I think that our government ought to investigate. If we can build 7 Nightingale hospitals in 3 weeks, it cannot be beyond the wit of man to construct a few holding pens somewhere where we can put all these prisoners, because just releasing prisoners and going, well, the prisons are full, that is not good enough. They're releasing some really dangerous people. This government has forgotten, seems to have forgotten, that the first duty of a government is to keep its citizens safe. It's not keeping us safe because of the migrant crisis. These migrants are raping women and children, and committing violent crimes, and it's not safe because they're releasing all these dangerous prisoners. They're forgetting their very first duty, and something needs to be done. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned, folks.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Yeah, Isabel, let's talk about a few more problems emanating from our questionable government. Well, let me remind you of what Keir Starmer said on the 22nd of May. So what is that, 3 months or so back? And this is about this strange deal that him and his cretinous friend Richard Hermer, the Attorney General, seem to have made, for some reason desperate to offload the very strategic Chagos Islands, until recently British territory. Somehow or other, this pair of people, idiots, wanted to give this territory to Mauritius, China's best friend, and then rent it off them. Anyway, here he is talking about the cost of the deal.
This cost is part and parcel of using Britain's global reach to keep us safe at home. And it will be less than the cost of running one aircraft carrier for a year. Today's agreement is the only way to maintain the base in the long term.
Well, we could have just kept it. You know, we could have just not giving it to Mauritius. We could have tried that, and then we wouldn't have had to pay Mauritius rent. So we give them the Chagos Islands and then say, can we give you some rent, please? Anyway, we were told this would be £3.4 billion over 20 years, which works out about £101 million per year. In itself, enough to get furious about. Today, the truth has emerged. It is, and this is from the government's actuary department. Actuary departments being the department in charge of all the money the government spends. So this is not some anti-government campaigner trying to besmirch our fabulous Labour socialist commanders. This is the government's own actuary department. They have revealed that the real price over 99 years will not be £3.4 billion. It will be £34.7 billion. As I said earlier, if you were furious about the £3.4 billion, you should be now 10 times more furious. This was a barefaced lie that he told us.
I mean, he lied about so much of this matter, and the Tories are also responsible because they started
what was that about?
Totally unnecessary negotiations on this. There is no evidence that Keir Starmer or anyone else has produced to say that if we hadn't done this completely nonsensical, frankly treacherous deal, somehow or other we would not be able to continue using Diego Garcia. You know, that somehow or other our military and defense capability and our relationship with the Americans who basically run and operate Diego Garcia, that base, would be compromised. I mean, not even compromised. You know, the suggestion was from Keir Starmer that all of this would somehow disintegrate unless we not just sold the island, but did some completely bizarre deal under which we give it away and have to pay for it, a kind of ransom. There's no evidence that that would have happened. And, you know, I think a lot of people hoped that Trump would step in here and say, I'm blocking this deal because I can see that my friends, the British people, have been completely screwed over. But from the Americans' point of view, it's actually a pretty sweet deal. You know, they get everything that they used to get and don't really have to pay for it. It's us that's taken the hit. So they've just taken a pragmatic view on this. The only good news is that at least one party, that's Nigel Farage's party, has said they will rip this up and they really mean business on it. And, you know, if that means, I'm afraid, shutting down the Mauritian embassy or whatever they've got here, if that means stopping issuing passports to Mauritian tourists and so on, they're pretty ready to play hardball on this, because I think, you know, there is no justification for sums such as this being spent in this manner.
Right, let's move. Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Let's move on. We'll just park the fact that this government is busy letting out very dangerous prisoners. 26,000 between September and March, on course for 45,000 this year. When you consider our total prison population is 88,000, that's kind of worrying. But that is going to continue apace, so I'll leave people to ruminate on that. And I think what we should talk about, probably rather more importantly, is this new... Again, this is another headline hunting initiative. So over the weekend, this is the way this government operates. Over the weekend, it will let it be known that on the following Monday, it will make a major announcement about some problem that is exercising everyone, that everybody's upset about. So we're worried about the migrant crisis. So over the weekend... the government let it be known that Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood is proposing a new law that will mean that migrants guilty of serious crimes, murder, rape, etc., instead of going into our jails and crowding them up, will immediately be deported back to their home countries on the point that they are found guilty, or that they plead guilty to these point of conviction. They go back to their own countries. So far, so good. At the moment, we have a baffling system where people like that, we wait until they're 30% through their sentences, a third of the way through their sentences, before we set about trying to deport them with a marked lack of success. So you think, OK, well, that's good. New hardline approach that seems to make sense. Then you start hearing that the system will only affect, quotes, most law-breaking foreigners, and those not given fixed-term sentences, in other words, the most serious criminals, in other words, criminals whose crimes are so serious, they don't give them 10 years, or just say you go into jail until we decide you're not in jail. Well, they will be exempt from fast-track deportation. This includes terrorists, rapists, murderers. Also, and this is really bizarre, in my view, I didn't know prison governors had this power, but they do, and they will retain it under this new proposal by Shabana Mahmood. They will retain the power to decide against deportation of foreigners, even for those with fixed-term sentences, if the prison governor considers such a move poses a threat to the UK's interests or national security. I mean, all due respect to prison governors, they shouldn't be making decisions like this. And also, if you're going to make this hard, or from now on, the moment a migrant is convicted of rape, murder or a serious offence, they immediately get deported. And then you drop in, well, most of them anyway. And actually, the prison governors may have something to say. But in other words, it's nothing. It's just more fluff.
I mean, you're right to highlight the word most. What that actually means is a handful. And they will, Yvette Cooper or Shabana Mahmood will pop up one day showing some video footage of a forlorn-looking foreign criminal being marched onto an aeroplane. It's a one-off, a bit like the time the French showed their skills at puncturing a single rigid inflatable boat when the cameras were on. Of course, the principle of it is absolutely right, but the other thing, I think you said that they're going to introduce new laws. Well, that takes absolutely forever in the normal scheme of things. I mean, we could expect that to be probably a year unless it's added on to some existing bill, which it could be. You've then got to get it past all your Labour, lefty, woke, liberals that say, oh, we can't do this, and so on. So it'll be a long time, I think, before any of this actually makes any difference whatsoever.
Yeah, there's one other quick point. The government is also proposing that when migrants, asylum seekers who have finished their sentences and they've committed serious offences, like paedophile offences, sex offences, violent offences, drug dealing, that kind of thing, that we will now, from now on, deport them sharpish before they have time to lodge a human rights complaint. Don't send me back to Syria because I'll be persecuted there. If you send me back to Eritrea, it will ruin my family life back here in Britain. So in other words, they're saying, right, we're going to get a move on and we'll get rid of them sharpish so their lawyers can't get the claim in time. That's not a very good proposal either, is it?
Well, I mean, I've got a better proposal, which is that we stop importing criminals. I mean, it would be an awful lot quicker and easier to reduce this problem if we just say we're not going to add another 1,000 in the space of 7 days. All these people that came over in the last 7 days are showing that they're willing to break the law, at least one law, which is the law of our borders. And I just think, unless we get on top of that, anything else is around the edges, really, isn't it? It's tinkering.
Of course it is. And again, this is an indication that this government doesn't get it about the migrant crisis. When they sit down, it's clear the cabinet sits down to decide what to do. They don't have in their hearts what they should be doing. We've really got to solve this crisis. We've got to stop these people coming. We've got to get rid of these asylum seekers. This is a problem. Instead, the way they think clearly is this: they war game temporary solutions that might get them a headline next week that makes it look as if they're doing something. We have way past the stage where performative headline hunting is enough, but it's a tragedy and a worry that our government doesn't seem to understand this. Listen, we're going to break now, Isabel, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the 522 new terrorist suspects, those people who demonstrated support of Palestine action over the weekend, for which they were arrested. It's a real problem. We'll talk about what might happen to them after these messages. Stay tuned, folks.
The Prime Minister made it very clear in Parliament, in fact, back in February, that he didn't believe these numbers were anything like we were claiming. We were suggesting at that point, I think, between 9 and 15 billion or thereabouts, and he said that was, quote, wide of the mark, suggesting it was much less than this. Well, due to a freedom of information request that we have put through, we've established that that figure is vastly higher than that, about £35 billion. This is money that's not there to go on our public services.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Reform UK's Greater Lincolnshire Mayor Dame Andrea Jenkins will join me after the 8 o'clock news. Lots to talk about her. She wants to talk about her own safety, which is becoming terribly compromised. You know, in this country, you're not allowed to be right of centre because the trolls start going for you and threatening your life. We'll talk about that and other issues with Andrea after the news. In the meantime, I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. And Isabel, we need to talk about what happened on Saturday. So in a deliberate act of mass defiance, all these supporters of Palestine Action, which is now a proscribed terrorist group, broke the law. They went down outside Parliament, big demonstration, and they said, I support Palestine Action. There they all are. That is breaking the law. That also means that they've broken a very serious law, potentially. They haven't been convicted yet. But if they get convicted, they're convicted of a terrorist assault, a terrorist crime. And that means that under our legal system, they sort of have to go to prison. Now, there were 522 people got arrested on Saturday. I'm wondering whether we can expect Keir Starmer, two-tier Keir, to send the same message he did after the post-Southport protest last summer. In other words, stage a repeat performance by sticking all these defiant demonstrators into court double fast and then chucking them into jail for grotesquely disproportionate sentences to say, if you do this, you have been warned. I mean, most of these people are horrendously middle class. Loads of them very old, but a bunch of middle class librarians, accountants, turning into counterculture warriors come the weekend. But 522. Now, if these people, they've got to get them into court, and these are very serious offences. These are terrorist offences. What do you think the government's going to do?
Well, it's a real dilemma for them, because unless they follow through with their threats, then it's just going to fuel all the claims, which are well substantiated already, of two-tier policing. I mean, this is the single largest set of arrests at one event
since the poll tax.
Since the poll tax. And look, I don't really like or savour the spectacle of people like those shown in the pictures there. I mean, I think they're Muppets, okay? I mean, they're just idiots. They're completely wrong-headed, and there's probably something worse than Muppetry about it. But are they terrorists? No. I mean, they're not terrorists, are they? But what they were doing is just testing the boundaries. And it was really important that the government, I suppose any government, proves a point. You know, if you prescribe a group, as happened in this case, which basically means you outlaw it, and then people defiantly gather in support of that group, then you've got to do something. Otherwise, you make a nonsense of your ability to prescribe things that are even worse than this particular organisation. So it is a real test. The government must have known it was coming. You know, there were plenty of preparations for mass arrests. In some ways, I'm glad that those mass arrests happened for the principle that I just set out there. On the other hand, you're kind of left looking at these ridiculous old ladies with their hats.
Old ladies, yeah. There's so many old ladies. What is it about old ladies that they're so big into Palestine action?
I had a BBC audience of them on Friday night. I was on BBC Radio 4's Any Question. Basically, the entire audience seemed to be those people. And when I stood up for Israel's act of complete necessity rather than, vengeance, of trying to bring the situation in Gaza to some kind of end state, pretty much 98% of that audience that looked like those old ladies there basically booed. These people they're not rational. They're just wearing this cause as a kind of do-gooding
halo polishing middle class virtue signaling. Absolutely.
Let's see how they get on. But
if Isabel, though, if he approaches this mass defiance of the law in the same way as he approached last summer's riots, which was similar in effect, really, the only thing he can do, if he's to be consistent, is to take out of this 522 about 50 of them and send them straight to jail. And I bet you he doesn't do that because he sympathises with their sympathies, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he'll do it because his own, colleagues in the parliamentary party and his own aides and senior Labour Party spin doctors and strategists will go bonkers if he does.
Yeah, because it's against their creed. It's going to be too...
I don't want to see it any more than I wanted to see Lucy Connolly banged up. But you can't have one rule for one and one for another.
Yeah, but you can in Keir's two-tier Britain. Isabel, brilliant to talk to you. I'll talk to you again on Wednesday, I hope. We will be back in just a little while, as I said, with Andrea Jenkins, putting the world to rights and talking about our own safety. That next, stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
In about half an hour, I'll be asking why the British Transport Police are desperate to arrest 4 guys who did the decent thing by tackling a guy who indecently exposed himself on a London tube train. There were kids on that carriage. And, things got slightly physically aggressive. They bundled him off the train. One of them saying, "Hey, mate, come on, there are children on this train." Anyway, the British Transport Police, this guy who exposed himself is now in some kind of mental institution. He's not right in the head. But the British Transport Police want to find these 4 guys, it may be more, and they want to arrest them. You know, what for? They did the right thing, didn't they? They suspect they could be guilty of assault. Tell you what, British Transport Police, why don't you forget this? And why don't you go and catch some of the real bad guys? These people are good guys. Got that? Let me know what you think about that, folks. 03444991000. We'll do the story properly at 8:30, and I'll show you the video. Before we get to that, though, for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm really pleased to say we will spend them in the company of one of our favourite guests. She is Reform UK's Mayor of Greater Lincolnshire. She is Dame Andrea Jenkins. Hello, Dame. I was going to say Dame Andrea. Well, shall I address you as that? Oh, good evening, Dame. Good evening, Dame Andrea.
To you, Kevin.
Listen, before we talk, Andrea, let's play some footage of you talking earlier about some of your own fears for your own safety, and I think this is a very serious issue. So here's you.
My office got graffitied telling me to kill myself, for perpetrator not found. I received 70 emails in 3 months telling me I needed to buy a stab vest and watch out. The person was let off with just a caution. Somebody chased my activist with a sledgehammer, which we had it on video, and he was let off. A man was looking for me in the town I represented, saying he wanted to kill me, let off. Tearing my gates down at my home, never found. Someone publishing my address online recently, where I live alone as a single parent with my child, and the police wouldn't even investigate. Campaigning on the doorstep last year, a man pulled his pants down in front of my young son and I, and nothing happened to that man. This is just the experience, everybody, of one person, myself. I couldn't get justice.
Well, that's terrible, Andrea, but I think I know the reason. It is that you dare, in this very liberal country of ours, to somehow, set out your stall to the right of the centre. It's that seems to be not allowed in our country these days. But I think what's worrying about that horrible list of experiences that you've had to endure.
That was only some of it, actually, Kevin. Yes,
well,
I could have put more.
Well, maybe you could tell us a few more. But I think what's worrying about that is the way, I think, because, shall we say, for the sake of convenience, you're a bit right-wing, the police don't seem to consider that's worth... that you're worth investigating, you're worth helping in these respects, and they should.
The so-called hate crimes seems to be a one-way street, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with these hate crimes anyway, but look, when someone is threatening your son, I mean, you didn't mention that one on there. It was quite horrific about my son being molested and has both been blown up by Hamas. I mean, I wanted to quit at that moment, actually, because when they attack your children, don't they, it hurts, actually.
Clifford, of course, a bit of a star of this show. He tends to make quite a few appearances. Remember the last time when he was... you were showing me his terrible fringe as cut by your sister.
And his bubble machine, wasn't it?
And his bubble machine, the bubbles coming across you. It kind of... It sort of destroyed your gravitas, but he's not here now. So, but I'm really sorry to hear that happened to Paul
thank
Clifford.
you. Yeah. I mean, it just... I wanted to talk about these things because... I'm just one person, and I know right across the country, every inch of our country, people have got similar stories. And that's a sad situation. I mean, I've become hardened to it. I mean, it's sad, isn't it, in society when you become hardened to this in a way. And then really you start accepting it. But that's not a good place to be in a society, is it? It's been gradually getting worse. And we've got to finally put a stop to it and fight back. And I believe that Reform's the only party who will do that.
Didn't you track down one of your trolls personally?
Yes. There was a guy in my old constituency. He'd been trolling me for years. Quite vile, some of the stuff he was saying. And I recognised his name on the electoral roll when I was campaigning. So I thought I'd knock on his door.
Yeah, go on.
But what a coward. Oh, my God. Oh, I don't want trouble, with his hands up like this. But you're causing me trouble.
What had he been doing? What had he been doing? Just some...
I mean, it was literally... The vile things that they say to you, you're a thick racist, you know, attacking my son again, you're, God, there was that much, I can't remember. It was a period of about 3 or 4 years he was doing this. And I think keyboard warriors, when you actually come face to face, they are cowards.
But it's good that you become hardened to it, Andrea, because it's a horrible fact of life. But we need people like you. We need women in politics.
Well, you know, you mentioned on that clip.
And you people have to, you know, you, Sarah, you know, quite a few Tory women as well. You do have to develop a sort of a hard exterior to cope with this, don't you?
Absolutely. And it doesn't mean that you're not hurting inside. Of course, we're human, aren't we? But I'll give an example. Last year, it was mentioned on that clip that you showed when a guy pulled his trousers down at the window at me and Clifford when we was campaigning. And I had, you know, a few bunch of volunteers with me. I got them to take Clifford away and I banged on that door. And he would not come to the door. He was a coward. And his poor wife, she did look... I'm only alleging, but I assume there's a domestic abuse there because she was very apologetic, but I felt for her, to be honest. You know, if he's like that with me, what is he like behind closed doors? But he would not come to the door. So I was saying at the door, come on, you coward, come to the door. Say this to my face. Come on, you. But he wouldn't. He just wouldn't. And... Yeah,
I would say
like that make me sick, actually.
Me too. I would say to his wife, this guy is not a keeper. Honestly,
you can say that again. Oh my God! Yeah.
What, your little boy was there when he did this?
Yes, absolutely.
That's just disgusting. It's disgusting. I mean, what about generally? We're going to talk about the migrant crisis after the break, but I mean, not the crimes that you're talking about, but crime in this country, the asylum seeker crime toll, throughout last week in particular, became a real crisis, I think. The figures were beginning to emerge. Hundreds and hundreds of asylum seekers all over the country charged with serious offences. Because of the glacial nature of our legal system, you get charged, then you wait to go to court, then it's your court case. Most people wait 1 to 2 years to go to court. So what's happened is, allegedly, hundreds of very serious crimes, most worryingly, rapes of women and children. Quite a few rapes of children going on. I should say alleged. Are happening or allegedly happening. These people are getting charged for these offences. Now they'll have to wait for the wheels of justice to turn slowly. But now that we're beginning to get numbers, now we're beginning to get a picture of the nature of these crimes. As I say, we were worried enough about the rape of women, and of course we should be. But it's turning out also that quite a few kids are allegedly being raped by asylum seekers. This is just seriously worrying, isn't it?
Completely. And I'll just give an example today. I was interviewed after the press conference by Channel 4 and the BBC, and they was trying to play down figures. they was actually trying to make out that what all Reform is saying is that crimes are being done by illegal migrants. We know it's not just done by illegal migrants, but the fact is, if we are importing criminals and we do not know who's coming into this country, then it's a problem for the British people. And the thing is, I think we're going to have this forever fight against the mainstream media, forever fight against the uni parties. We need to provide the full stats, because I think this is just the tip of the iceberg, don't you, Kevin? I do believe that there's cover-ups at civil service level. I know when I've mentioned on your show before, when I was in Parliament, I asked for the stats, crimes per nationality be published, because you need to know if you're importing a problem and how to deal with that problem. But it's only, as you said, it's only just coming out now, and any crime against a child, they don't deserve to live, and they certainly don't deserve to be in our country, do they?
And the problem is, the reason the communities all over the country, I mean, there are about something like, 25 protests, serious protests, outside asylum seekers' hotels all over the country over the weekend. Yeah. The reason these local communities, and let's stress, it is mostly local people, the reason they're rising up in fury is, they are finally being told, or they're learning that for many years these kind of details have been kept secret from them. The police in Warwickshire, Nuneaton, 2 weeks ago, two Afghani asylum seekers involved in the one charged with rape, one charged with assisting the rape of a 12-year-old girl. Warwickshire police didn't tell the local community they were asylum seekers because that's in line with national police policy. You don't tell communities, you don't tell British citizens when rapes, when sexual assaults, when violent crimes have been allegedly committed by asylum seekers. Now, so the public now beginning to find this stuff out, they go, hang on a second, you've been keeping this secret from us. They're furious. And what do we get from the government? We get Keir Starmer saying, yeah, they're absolutely right, they do have the right to know whether or not these crimes are allegedly being committed by asylum seekers. Yvette Cooper, even stronger on it, yes, it is time we started telling the people about these details. Yes, that must happen. This was like last weekend. Not the one just gone, the one before. On the Monday, or was it the Sunday, what emerged was, the Cabinet's very keen on this, but of course, they have to wait for independent advice, which could take weeks, could take months. They don't need that independent advice. It's the stroke of a pen. Yeah, this government is still reluctant to tell us the truth about the crime
and
that is...
so is the justice system as well, actually, Kevin.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a thing in Lincolnshire, a case, I can't go into details, embargoed till the 28th of August. Then I will send you the details.
Please do.
And someone, a male, exposing himself. And they will not, the court embargoed the nationality, and nothing can be released until the 28th. But why are we protecting people's nationality? Why are we protecting perpetrators, alleged perpetrators? Do the British people get this same protection?
No, and also, Andrea, legally, I know I've covered a lot of court cases in my time, and of course, as a journalist, you have to learn about all this legal stuff. And legally, there's no way that knowledge of a perpetrator, a suspect's, alleged perpetrator, I said, a suspect's nationality, asylum seeker status, that cannot affect the trial because it will emerge on day one.
Yeah.
So on day one, the jury will know this is an asylum seeker. Often, as is happening right now in a London Crown Court with a Pakistani guy, 43 years old, charged with repeatedly raping an 8-year-old. He's having the case translated by an Urdu interpreter. So often these people will have interpreters. The jury is going to know on day one, minute one, this is an asylum seeker, this is a migrant. So the idea that knowledge of their ethnicity before the trial will affect the trial is a nonsense. Keir Starmer knows that. Yvette Cooper knows that. They're both lawyers.
It's a political decision, though, isn't it?
It is,
It's
yeah.
not a legal decision in my books. That's my opinion.
Because they don't trust the British people. They think if we know this, we'll have a riot. Well,
Yes.
I tell you what the British people have proved over 3 weeks of solid protests. These have been significant protests, and yes, there've been a few clash points. The atmosphere's febrile, as it might well be, but they've been peaceful. They've all been peaceful. So the British people are not mad rioters who you can't trust, but they warrant this information as British citizens. In other words, the system now is sort of giving a preferential treatment to migrants and asylum seekers over British citizens. Once again, two-tier justice, and the Brits take second place. Got to stop, hasn't it?
Oh, completely. I mean, I thought last year when I lost my seat as an MP, I was happily going to stay on the back benches. Then we saw what happened, well, with the winter fuel allowance first, but we saw what happened in the July, August time. There's murder of those beautiful girls and the two-tier justice system there. We saw, obviously, people locked up for social media posts. And to be honest, Kevin, that's what brought me back, because we've got to make a stand. We've got to fight, because if we don't, what will be left of Britain?
It's like I say, we need people like you, Andrew, we really do. So I'm glad that you've been persuaded back. We're going to go to break now. When we come back, we'll talk about the migrant crisis, and I'll show you, you've probably seen it, but others may not have. It's a post by Nigel Farage of a boatload of asylum seekers, or I should say illegal migrants, coming across the channel over the weekend. It's kind of annoying. We'll look at that next. Stick around.
The Prime Minister made it very clear in Parliament, in fact, back in February, that he didn't believe these numbers were anything like we were claiming. We were suggesting at that point, I think, between 9 and 15 billion or thereabouts, and he said that was, quote, wide of the mark, suggesting it was much less than this. Well, due to a Freedom of Information request that we have put through, we've established that that figure is vastly higher than that, about £35 billion. This is money that's not there to go on our public services.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Reform UK's Mayor of Greater Lincolnshire, Dame Andrea Jenkins. I nearly did it again. I was going to call you Dame Andrea. Dame Andrea, please. Now, I'm going to play you some footage from a Twitter post that Nigel Farage made over the weekend. Now, it is a small boat full. You'll notice the marked lack of women and children, full of young men, all chanting Allah Akbar. Have a look at this.
قوات رماح العراقي تم اجتياح لندن بتاريخ 8/8 الله اكبر ولله الحمد الله محمد.
Do you find, I mean, you know, do you find that annoying? I do.
It makes me angry. I mean, no wonder people are taken to the street, Kevin. No wonder people are protesting at migrant hotels. What have we become, Kevin? And I know it's not just Labour, it's Conservative. I mean, you know, I've spoke up even against the Conservative government when I was a Tory MP. What the hell has happened to the country? I mean, I think it probably first started under Blair and the human rights laws, hasn't it? I think it probably first started then, and it's gradually got worse. But thank God for people across the pond like Trump who's fighting back, and Italy. And, you know, we just need a leader now like Nigel who can really fight back here, but whilst being in the power of government.
Yeah, apparently apart from chanting Allah Akbar, what's that mean? God is great, isn't it? Allah is great. The print you could see what they were actually saying. Apparently that's some kind of tract, some kind of Islamic tract saying, you know, we're the spearhead, Islam will spread throughout the world, and all this kind of thing. So they're coming over with this really arrogant attitude. That they're just going to, you know,
it's
as I said,
get away with it, isn't it? Because to get away with it. Yeah. I mean, look how many times over the years we couldn't deport those inciting hatred in Moss. I mean, who was that real famous one? We couldn't deport him.
You mean the one, Cowdrey, the one that?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. But
he's out now, isn't he? I think. But Nigel tweeted underneath this disturbing footage of all these absolute lack of any women and children. Every single person on that boat is a young man. We used to say of military age, working age. I now say young men of sexually active age, because that is the thing to worry about. Absolutely. But Nigel tweeted, "This is a national security emergency," and it is. And the reason is
lock up your daughters. That's what it feels like, isn't it? Lock up your daughters, protect them from these scores of male boat people coming out.
I mean, I think the Tories, you know, they're backtracking now. They're trying to do their best. But the Tories have got so much.
Kemi was outside a migrant hotel.
Yeah,
today.
she went to the Bell Hotel, didn't she? But Robert Jenrick, who I kind of like, he wrote a piece in the papers over the weekend saying he's got 3 daughters. And he said, this migrant crisis has made me fearful for my daughter's safety, you know, because they're walking the streets, we don't know anything about them, etc., etc., etc. Now, you know, of course she sympathised for her father in those circumstances and everything he says. But in
fact he was in that department.
Well, exactly. As a Tory, though, Robert, you know, you guys created this. You know, and you know, much as, you know, you have to applaud Labour for making it even worse. That was no mean feat. Well done. I mean, I don't know how they managed it, but they have made it worse. But the Tories did this. And it's a bit rich to read this, oh, Labour's ruining the country, it's made unsafe.
Staying on the Conservatives' time in government, that certainly is. I mean, why do you think I left? I mean, I've spoke up so many times. I had Westminster Hall debates about legal migration and, sometimes talking till you're blue in the face. But I mean, the only way, as Nigel said for a long time, as I said for years as well, we've got to come out the ECHR so we can start fighting back and deport the buggers, excuse my French.
Well, exactly right. I mean, today they've announced, or Shabana Mahmood, the Justice Secretary, I was just discussing this with Isabel Oakeshott. What they do, this government, they sort of detect something that's really upsetting people.
Yeah.
And then through the week. And then across the weekend, they'll let it be known that on Monday they're going to be making a big announcement. about the thing that people are worried about. So, of course, the last week with the big story was the migrant crisis. So they let it be known that Shabana Mahmood was going to be proposing a new law that will mean migrants guilty of serious crimes, including murder and rape, violent crimes, drug dealing, instead of being sent, when they're found guilty or they plead guilty, instead of being sent into a British jail and clogging up that jail even more than they already are clogged up, we will deport them immediately to their home country, where their home countries can deal with them. And you think, oh, that's good, because at the moment, bizarrely, we wait until they're 30% through their sentences, till they've served a third of their sentence.
I mean, that is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. So they go, oh, yeah, so we're going to do this from now on. And you think, well, that's good. And then they start using, well, it'll be for most prisoners. In other words, it's not for all of them. Then prison governors will be able to make choices about whether or not they think certain prisoners...
Well, they'll all start converting to Christianity or dressing up as women, and then they'll... won't be deported, will they?
Yeah, so this government just always shows a lack of resolve. And when Keir Starmer said last week, I will stop at nothing to secure Britain's borders, I mean, even by his own high standards, that was epic level gaslighting, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, don't you think people are getting to the stage that Starmer comes on TV and you just switch off? Or any Labour politician comes on TV, you just switch off because you can't believe them, can you?
Well, look what he said about the Chagos Islands. He said it was going to cost us £3.4 billion over 99 years. Today we learned from the government's actuary department, that's the department in charge of actually sending cash to people, that the true amount won't be £3.4 billion over 99 years. It will be, wait for it, £34.7 billion. In other words, 10 times more than he told us. He was just lying.
Yeah, and he lied throughout the campaign. I mean, the NFU showed me a clip from what an event he spoke at during the general election last year, where he was sticking up for farmers. The inheritance tax wasn't even on the agenda. And people really believe that he was there for them, and that clip keeps being dragged out now because he lied to them.
Well, he just is a liar.
He just lies to everybody in my book.
And so are a lot of his acolytes in the cabinet. I believe, you let me know what you think, Andrew, final question really, because the political Westminster establishment is fond of saying, oh, the migrant crisis is a marginal issue, it's always the economy, it's cost of living, it's the economy stupid, that's what will win or lose the election. I don't agree. Of course, that will always be important. I think that the next election can be won or lost on the migrant crisis, and the party that persuades the people of this country that they will stop the boats and they will get rid of all these foreigners who are living at our expense all over the country in four-star hotels, the party that is able to persuade the public they will do that will win the next election. Do you agree?
100%, Kevin, definitely. But I think that the other parties are realising that, but they're putting out the rhetoric. But look, as we know, the Conservatives, they had their track record, which wasn't great on legal migration. Labour's is getting worse. It's just empty rhetoric now, and it's only Reform who is serious about this. And let's not forget Nigel's pedigree on this. Do you remember when he put the big advert out with lots of migrants and they called him racist years ago? Do you remember?
Yeah, of course.
And he's been fighting this cause longer than anybody. He's got conviction. He's got a record on this. He's the real deal, and he's the only one who would deliver.
I think it certainly seems like that. The others are talking such a weak game on all this. Kemi Badenoch's still saying, well, we might leave the ECHR, but we might not.
No.
Tell you what, Kemi, just announce that you will. It'll make you much more popular. But the trouble with Kemi is she's scared to disturb the universe. Andrea, it's so fantastic to talk to you. So sorry about what's been happening to you.
Thank you.
But stay strong. We need people like you. Good to talk to you, as always. Dame Andrea Jenkins there, Reform UK Mayor for Greater Lincolnshire. Let me know what you think. Should she... I mean, let me know what you think about the ordeal she's been through. Oh, she's telling the story about the guy... I mean, it's bad enough flashing at her, but a little boy, I think Clifford's about 11 or something. 11 years old. I mean, come on. It's unbelievable. 03444991000. When we come back after this break, we'll be talking about the British Transport Police and their strange mission to catch the men who I think did the decent thing, bundling an indecent flasher, an indecent exposer off a tube train at 3:30 in the afternoon. Kids on the carriage. The British Transport Police want to track these men down and arrest them potentially for assault. Eh? Really? Unbelievable. That next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's talk about something that happened on the tube over the weekend. The tube train system here in London, the underground system run by Sadiq Khan. Mind you, can't blame me for this. Like to, but I can't. Basically, this guy suddenly, crowded train carriage, 3:30 in the afternoon, drops his trousers, flashes. And his pants, of course, trashes. So naked man on the tube, exposing himself in front of children. A few guys took matters into their own hands, as it were, and sorted this guy out. Let's watch this.
Yo, you need to get a train, bro. You need to get mate. Kids about man. Right, let's go. You want to know how you can help you? What the train, bro? Go put up your trousers, mate. No. Go.
Very unpleasant scenes. Now, those guys, you can see them there, they bundled him off the train, they got him off the train. You know, they dealt with him, shall we say, forcefully. Damn good job too, if you ask me. Let's talk to former Scotland Yard detective Mike Neville. Hello, Mike. Well, we've seen what happened there. Now, this guy This is at 3:30 in the afternoon on the tube train in East London. As you can see, quite a few people in the carriage there. This guy drops his trousers and his pants and basically flashes. There are children, there are women on the train. These guys dealt with him. They dealt with him. It got a bit nasty. They got him off the train. It strikes me they did the right thing. If they hit him along the way, serves him right. OK, he's got mental issues. What they're trying to do, I think, is to protect women and children from this disgusting, obscene act. They get him off the train, they held him. Now, the British Transport Police say they're looking for these guys and they consider them to be suspects for assault. They want to arrest them for assault. I mean, am I missing something here, or are the British Transport Police, have they lost the plot? It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, I think what we see all the time, Kevin, is that the police, the trust and confidence in the police has absolutely collapsed. You saw recently that the shopkeeper in Wrexham was told to take down a sign saying, the cabinets are locked because of scumbags thieving, yeah. and they're told you've got to remove that sign. And what people feel is that the law-abiding are the ones that the police are too often cracking down on. And what they've seen is that, in all you're saying about Sadiq Khan, the mayor, since he took office in 2016, the number of crimes on the underground has doubled. It's over doubled from 11,000 to nearly 24,000 crimes. And the trouble is when society starts to break down, when people have to take the law into their own hands, because really what they should be is British Transport Police officers on the trains, and they should be dealing with this man, but there isn't anybody there. And I can just imagine if I was there with my wife or my daughters on that train, I would have been helping them men to get him off. And when you see them, the man is actually fighting with them. When they get him off the train, they don't concern us to like fling him on the floor. They sort of take him out and plop him on the floor, and then they call the police.
And restrain him, yeah, they restrain
him, and they take him away. This is a disgusting thing for anybody to see, but we know the level of violence and sexual offence. A quarter of the rise in offences on the tube are sexual offences. So it's really women and girls who've got to be afraid on the tube, and they need to be protected. And what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to ignore a man there exposing his penis and everything else, swearing at everybody? You can see some people just put their head in their hands and ignore it. 4 of the men decide to do what I would have done. They do the right thing and they get a grip. People shouldn't have to see this, Kevin. It's outrageous. And the British Transport Police should be thanking them for dealing with matters, but they should be there to deal with these things in the first place.
And are the British Transport Police so lacking in an ability to read the room that they think it's going to sound good, that they want to catch these, arrest these 4 guys who, as I keep saying, did the decent thing? Yes, it got a bit heated. This guy was no wallflower. He was screaming at them. And frankly, if they stuck one on him, good. He deserves it. The British Transport Police, I think, have lost the plot here. This is what infuriates people about the cops, when they go after the wrong people.
Yeah. So I would say there, Kevin, you said about reading the room. If you look at the case of Lorne Castle, the officer who was sacked by Dorset police, who was a bit robust with a young lad who pulled out a knife and had attacked some other people, no one ever complained about him. Well, he certainly didn't complain, and his parents didn't complain about the arrest. It was 2 other officers, junior officers with him. And then the assistant chief constable who sacked him said, the community will be really concerned about this. But they don't read the room. What the community did was raise about £200,000 for that officer to support him, because what the public wants is robust policing. They want criminals dealt with. They don't want kid gloves. What they see all the time is society crumbling around them. Today, Kevin, in the New Forest, I went to buy my daughter some chicken goujons for her lunch. It had a security tag on chicken goujons in the New Forest, because shoplifting is out of control. And that's just an indication of how society starts to break apart. And unless the police start to back the law-abiding, it will continue down that dreadful road.
Well, absolute fact, Mike, that Tesco's now are locking the sausages in locked-up cabinets. So, as many people have said, no doubt very soon the Prime Minister will call for the release of those sausages. But seriously, look, if I see a guy, you know, what you could deduce from what's happened, this saga on the train, is if I see a guy, you know, drop his pants and start flashing at little kids and girls, and I say, you know, and I take some abrasive action, you know, frankly knock him out or something, the British Transport Police will come for me. In other words, they're saying, don't you dare. In other words, their message to people on the train, to decent men who did the decent thing, is you shouldn't have done that. You should have let that guy just drop his pants and flash at the kids. That's their message, and that is a rancid message.
Well, they didn't even knock it. They didn't knock him out. They didn't use, I would suggest, excessive violence.
I agree with you, mate. Yeah.
Everybody, every citizen is entitled to make an arrest if somebody commits an offence in front of them. And here is clearly an offence. And there's also the risk and danger to women and girls, which is just, it needs to be dealt with. And I think these men have done that. I don't think anybody will be coming forward with their names at all. And it's a bit like, do you remember the time when the Just Stop Oil or some other stupid fools, Extinction Rebellion, clambered onto the top of a Docklands light railway train when everybody wanted to get home from work?
I remember that.
And they were swiftly dealt with. But this, like I say, this man, they say, no, he's mentally ill. Well, the people at the time didn't know that. They made reasonable requests to him say, put your trousers up. And what he did is he was vulgar, rude, swearing at them. And then when they tried to make him do it, he wouldn't do it, and he fought back. So what exactly are these people supposed to do? But as we keep saying, the police in this country have lost sight of who is on their side, and they need to realise that, because trust and confidence is at the lowest ebb, and it's just, and I've said it repeatedly on this show, I find it utterly upsetting. I was proud to be a Scotland Yard detective. British policing has been seen across the world as fair, firm, decent, and it's losing that now, and that is really, really dreadful to see.
Do you know what it reminds me of, Mike? It's like when people, householders, catch a burglar in their homes and deal with them themselves. You find a guy stealing your stuff in the kitchen or something, and you stick one on him. You defend your property, you defend yourself, and frankly, deal with this intruder. And then the homeowner gets charged for being overly violent. It reminds me of that sort of twisted approach by the police. And if there are any police chiefs out there, you've got to stop doing this. Do you know what I mean?
But if we look across what people see, of course, they look across the Atlantic and they see our Prime Minister, for example, say, no, I wouldn't call people scumbags. And then they see the actions of the President of the United States, who's getting a grip in 5 cities where the crime is out of control. And all people are crying out for is real leadership here to say, look, all we want to do is go to work, we want to live, we want our families and our homes to be safe, and we want the authorities, particularly the police and the courts, to crack down on those who do wicked and evil things, who steal, rob, rape. We don't want people to deal with social media posts. We want you to get a grip of the violent and sexual criminals who make lives of misery and ruin other people's lives. And what they see is this sort of nonsense, and it sends out completely the wrong message.
It sure does. And by the way, last point, that Wrexham police who called on that shop owner, he runs a retro shop in Wrexham, always getting his stuff nicked, puts a sign up saying, really sorry, everything's locked away, like we were just talking about, but I've had to do that due to scumbags who keep shoplifting. Wrexham police go, you got to take that sign down. He says, why? He said, oh, because it's offending people, it's offensive. If I was him, maybe he'll know next time, it's not his fault. But what the correct response to that is, so it's offensive. What exactly are you here for? You are allowed under British law to be offensive, to offend other people. It is not against the law to be offensive. So, officer, what the hell are you doing here? You know what I'm saying?
Kevin, do you know what? I was actually in communication with Wrexham Police 6 months ago. They had a massive problem with shoplifting. I actually offered to help them for free. turned down. And so they're far happier letting thieves scurry around that town where I've got relatives, and rather than accepting help. And I offer that again. I offer the Wrexham Police my help again, because you turned it down for no good reason. And it just sums up British policing. They'll bite the hand that feeds them.
Yeah, exactly. What kind of a world, what kind of a country are we living in where the police are going round sort of saying, oh, you can't be offensive about shoplifters. You can't call shoplifters scumbags. Well, the thing is, officer, they are scumbags. What are you going to do about it? Absolutely ridiculous. Same as this train situation. Mike, a pleasure to talk to you as always. Mike Neville there, former Scotland Yard detective. What do you think about that? What do you think about the British National Police? They've got to stop keep calling them that, British Transport Police. They've got to stop this, haven't they? 03444991000. Well, we're going to move on to a slightly different subject after the next break, and that is Nicola Sturgeon, Nicola Queen of Scots, the former Scottish First Minister, who's written a book called Frankly. It doesn't sound like it's very frank to me. She's still struggling with what a woman is or what a man is. There's been stories written saying, oh, she's cleared up the rumours about her sexuality. She so hasn't. We'll talk about that after this break. Stick around.
The Prime Minister made it very clear in Parliament, in fact, back in February, that he didn't believe these numbers were anything like we were claiming. We were suggesting at that point, I think, between 9 and 15 billion or thereabouts, and he said that was, quote, wide of the mark, suggesting it was much less than this. Well, due to a freedom of information request that we have put through, we've established that that figure is vastly higher than that, about £35 billion. This is money that's not there to go on our public services.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. After the 9 o'clock news, I'll be joined from LA, live from LA, by Kinsey Schofield. We've got to talk about this alleged new deal that Harry and Meghan appear to have made with Netflix. They say that they're going to do a Christmas special, and they've got a first look deal. I don't know whether that means there's actually any money in their pockets. The response from Netflix seems to be muted. No real kind of official statement about it. Lots of statements from Harry and Meghan, of course. I wonder if it's Meg's spin again. We'll talk about that after the news. But first, let's talk about Nicola Sturgeon. She's written a book, autobiography called Frankly. Some of it doesn't seem all that frank to me. Well, look, we're going to talk in just a second to the brilliant Sunday Times Scottish journalist John Boothman. But before we do, she was interviewed, old Nicola, on ITV News by Julie Etchingham. And she still seems to be struggling with this concept, you know, like when you got a bloke called Adam Bryson and he rapes 2 women, and he's going into court and says, actually, I identify as a woman, and identify as a woman, and my name is Isla Bryson. When they say that sort of thing, you should just say, shut up, you're a bloke. But Nicola still has a big problem with old Isla. Check this out.
you became unstuck over the questions about the transgender prisoner, the rapist, Isla Bryson. Why couldn't you answer that question?
I think I was caught up in the...
Will you answer it now, whether you believe Isla Bryson was a man?
Isla Bryson identified as a woman. I think what I would say now is anybody who commits the most heinous male crime against women probably forfeits the right to be, you know, the gender of their choice.
They forfeit to be the gender of their choice. That's quite... I mean, this actually goes to the heart of the difficulty around this.
That probably was not the best phrase to use. But
they forfeit their right to be the gender of their choice.
If you rape a woman, then I think you probably... The debate about whether they should be called a woman or not probably...
Well, why don't you simply say then Isla Bryson is a biological male?
They are a biological male, but that's about whether it gets back into the self-ID thing. I should have been much more straightforward. I wasn't. But that's because of the debate. We'd lost all sense of rationality in this debate. I'm partly responsible for that.
Well, warm welcome to John Boothman from the Sunday Times. No, we didn't lose all sense of rationality. She did. Still tying herself up in knots, still calling that bloke, that double rapist, they identify as a woman. What is wrong with Nicola Sturgeon? Why can't she just say he's a double rapist, he's not a woman, he's a bloke? What is wrong with her?
Look, I think in many, many ways Nicola Sturgeon was too straightforward and she stuck too long to her ideological position. I mean, what confused me completely about that, Kevin, is that, you know, she said that, well, basically, Isla Bryson would forfeit the right to be a woman because there had been 2 rapes. Now, I thought all this stuff about gender self-ID and trans people was all about it being intrinsic to their being.
Yeah.
And here it's being held up as something else, which is completely and utterly confusing. I think what she's now trying to say, a bit too late, I think many people would argue, is that she should have hit the pause button and all this stuff. Now, you know, I've heard some people say today, if she had hit the pause button and all of it, maybe better if she ditched it altogether, that maybe all of this division, all of this toxicity that she says herself, admits herself she had partly to do with, all of the trouble that we've seen with public organisations in Scotland, with cases like Sandy Peggy, the nurse, that's been very well documented, might never have arisen. But she didn't hit the pause button. Alistair Jack, the Scottish Secretary in the Conservative government, hit the pause button right at the very end. But look, you know, the toxicity was all there by then, and the danger in all of it.
Yeah, she, I mean, arguably, I mean, she had a lot of other problems going on, but she kind of wrecked her own career with this identity politics stuff. She went down that rabbit hole. And in an interview with your paper in the actual Sunday Times magazine yesterday, she said, oh, well, you know, I don't think I will go back to frontline politics, but if I did, I think I'd like to, you know, take the Scottish people with me, you know, on my trans views. Well, I don't think you ever would. I mean, you know, this was the problem. You know, Scottish people are pretty, you know, they're down to earth, they're sensible. They're not going to believe all this claptrap about a rapist who says, well, I put a dress on, so therefore I'm a woman. She thinks she could persuade the Scottish people that that should be the way. Rubbish, rubbish. She still is in denial about the horrendous mistake she made on this front, isn't she?
I think that's entirely correct. She lays that out in the book. In the book, actually, I mean, a funny thing happened today. Although the book's not due to be published until Thursday, it suddenly appeared in some bookshops in Glasgow. So there was a big queue of journalists outside at lunchtime picking up the book. And, you know, you'll see various stories in the paper this morning, including, for example, her blaming J.K. Rowling for the toxicity around this debate, as well as herself.
God. What about, there's another issue. Look, her sex life, her sexuality is her own business, but she brings it up in the book. So I'm afraid that we'll have to talk about it, because she calls the book, frankly, You know, and a lot of the papers sort of in advance said, oh, she clears up the issue of her sexuality because, well, let's call it like it is. She's always been surrounded by rumours that she's a lesbian and that she had a long relationship with the female French ambassador to the UK, Catherine Colonna. All that, so she's quizzed about this and she writes about it in the book. And what she says is, it's time to address this. And she said, well, I've spent 30 years of my life devoting my life to relationships with men. And when all this stuff about Catherine Colonna came out, I just shrugged my shoulders. I've never believed that anybody's sexuality is binary. And she left it at that, which doesn't really clear the issue up. She's still the politician. She's still a little bit frightened to disturb the universe and maybe lose some of the votes she doesn't need anymore, right?
Well, she says that, she doesn't believe sex is binary, including her own, and then leaves us hanging. I mean, this story, which she says is unfounded, and her and the French ambassador, who was later the foreign minister, Catherine Colonna, have a good laugh at. I mean, about 5 years ago, this rumour was all around the place, not just amongst journalists. Anywhere you went round about the country, you would pick this up. And she outlines in the book about how her family were being asked about it in the pub. Her husband, Peter, was approached by one of her neighbours and asked about it because they were worried that Nicola was having an affair in private. But, this was around for a long time, and that's it. She thinks, to use that wrong phrase, it's been put to bed with this, but it's still left us with lots and lots of questions.
It certainly does. She's very bitter in the book about Alex Salmond. They were once very close and then split up, not romantically, but politically, because of the problems that Alex had with accusations of inappropriate behaviour around women. He was completely acquitted of all of those. She doesn't seem to be able to forgive him for all that. I suspect that what annoyed her was that from the side, he carried on sniping, saying, effectively saying, this woman with all this identity politics, all this bloke in a dress, that's a woman stuff, is ruining the SNP. And I think he had a very good point. I mean, you knew it. I mean, friends of mine, who I respect and like, said that, over a drink, she's a good laugh. She's nice to have a drink with and all that. But she continues in the public eye, her interviews about this book, to come across as a really weirdo politico.
I think in the wake of her leaving the office, it's become a very, very strange position. It's often talked about by colleagues and friends of mine who say that we're not really sure who the real Nicola Sturgeon is. And one of the things that you see in relation to this book and in these interviews is you kind of come out at the end of it thinking Nicola Sturgeon's not really sure who she is either.
Yeah, that's a really good point, John. And as I say, frankly, I don't think it comes across as a particularly frank and honest book, but ever the politician, eh? John, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. The brilliant John Boothman from the Sunday Times there. Strange book, strange woman. Nicola Sturgeon, 03444991000. Kinsey Schofield, after the break, on the latest deal with the Meghan. Let's check out that, shall we?
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
So, Donald Trump asked Emma Thompson out on a date, and the date never happened. Lucky Donald. Right, in half an hour we'll talk. We'll take some calls from you. 03444991000. We'll go through your WhatsApp voice notes and also read some of your messages. Got lots of calls, lots of voice notes. Still plenty of time to get your calls in. 03444991000. You might want to talk about the next issue because it's all happening on the Meghan and Harry front. To wit, we will cross straight across the Atlantic to the west coast of America and go live to Kinsey Schofield. Hi, Kins.
Hi, Kev.
Hang on. Host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. How are you, Kins?
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much. Pretty busy day when it comes to the Harry and Meghan front, although we've discussed this scenario at great length over the last year or so. The idea that, yes, the original contract will be terminated, but will Netflix want to hang on in case, a worst case scenario, the Sussexes separate one day, they want the exclusive. So will Netflix hang on in some capacity? And it looks like they will with this first look deal.
So, just to cut everybody into the picture, if you haven't seen already, big announcement today, mainly from Harry and Meghan, not a whole lot from Netflix, I noticed, that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have signed a new multi-year first look deal for film and television projects. With Netflix, of course. This is supposed to include a program called Holiday Celebration, which will be a Christmas special of Meghan with Love. So if any of you were looking forward to Christmas, think again.
He's ruined it.
Think again. Maybe nothing to look forward to with this show, but for some reason, maybe Netflix will make this. But let's be... You know, they had like $100 million deal over, what was it, 3 years. All right, that's come to an end. And now we've got this first look deal. Now, what does that actually mean? That means that, you know, Netflix and Meghan and Harry have come to an arrangement whereby if they have any ideas for television shows or film projects, I don't know, like Meet Me at the Lake or something like that, that they go first to Netflix, and if Netflix don't want it, they can go anywhere. Now, that is not the kind of deal that puts $100 million in your pocket. In fact, that's the kind of deal that doesn't really put any money in your pocket unless you actually produce anything, right?
I mean, think about how long it took them to produce their only commercial success for Netflix, the Harry and Meghan docuseries / reality show, where they just tore into the British royal family. It took them at least 2 years and multiple production companies they blew through in that process. And then Meghan went to Variety magazine and was almost critical, saying, you know, of the final project, saying she just had to finally give up control over it because she wasn't pleased with the direction that it went, which I'm sure Netflix loves their talent going to Variety magazine saying, I'm just tolerating what they put out there. But yeah, I mean, I'd say this is a pretty big downgrade. This is not what they were hoping for to maintain their American lifestyle. But it saves them both from embarrassment. Netflix did not want to have the same egg on their face that Spotify had when they had to admit that they had mismanaged thousands of dollars when it came to offering the Sussexes a deal with, you know, the Spotify deal. I mean, Netflix had to go to their investors and say, we made a huge mistake. We're sorry that we spent such a significant amount of money and the return on investment wasn't there. And Netflix didn't want to have the same conversation with their investors and with their staff. So what they're doing is they're saying, oh, no, we didn't make a mistake. We're going to hold on to them. We think they've got something left in them, but they're not having to fork over the amount of money that they did the first go round, which that type of money and opportunity, I just don't think exists anymore. They were in a unique position at the time they stepped down as working members of the British royal family because of the plague. Everybody was stuck at home. Everybody was watching television. Everybody was signing up for Netflix because they'd run out of internet to watch. And I hope to God, and I don't know if we'll ever be in a similar position again in my lifetime.
Now, so they're going to make this holiday celebration Christmas special of With Love, Meghan.
Which, by the way, does it even occur to you that this is Meghan, who has no contact with her family whatsoever? She doesn't speak to 99.9% of her family, trying to tell us how to Christmas. And this is the holiday that the Princess of Wales has really established for herself in the UK with her Christmas Carol concert. The audacity that, and honestly, how many times do we see the holiday season is a faith-based season? We regularly see the Princess of Wales walking into chapel, walking into the church, sitting in pews, King Charles, Prince William. We regularly see these people in church. We understand that they are a family built on faith. We recognize that, we appreciate it, and it's part of the gig. Harry and Meghan never talk about Jesus Christ. They never talk about Buddha. They never talk about faith. It's never on their radar. But Meghan wants to teach us how to Christmas.
Yeah, so join Meghan in Montecito. This is the announcement today. Join Meghan in Montecito for a magical holiday celebration. Together, friends and family deck the halls, create holiday feasts, craft heartfelt gifts and share lots of love. So I really can't wait. But together, friends and family deck the halls. Well, when Meghan says family, and for that matter when Harry says family, we're talking about a very small portion of their families. Okay, their own family, their kids, but no sign of Meghan's father, Meghan's brother, Meghan's sister, or any of Harry's family. So trying to promote themselves as people who will be staging a lovely family Christmas is just it's a hypocritical lie, isn't it?
And just the Americanism of it, the cheapening this sacred holiday with the commercialization of, because we've talked about it for weeks now on this program, Meghan Markle's exclusive holiday product from As Ever. Like, we've been talking about that for weeks. So basically they're creating this Christmas special to try to shove these holiday products down our throats, QVC style. Fergie, we miss you, and your blenders at 3 a.m. And, it's just, to me, it's just so gross, because when it comes to Catherine's Christmas special, her Christmas choir special, there's something so sweet and sacred about that. And it does make you feel all warm and fuzzy, and you want to cuddle up with your family and watch it. Meanwhile, we're not allowed to see Harry and Meghan's kids, but she's going to try to talk to us about Santa Claus.
Yeah, this is holiday celebration with love, Meghan, the feel-bad show for Christmas. Now, part of this deal also apparently includes a short film called Masaka Kids, A Rhythm Within. This will look at Uganda's Masaka region and the HIV/AIDS crisis there. Now, I don't want to undermine that. I'm sure that's a very, very serious issue that maybe the public should know about. But, I mean, it does not have commercial hit written all over it, does it?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you thought Heart of Invictus numbers were bad, and they were bad for Netflix, I think that this is probably going to be similar. But let me tell you, according to IMDb, a title by the same name is already completed. And the way that this has been positioned to us is that the Sussexes are also working on. But IMDb says this title is completed, it's done. And the synopsis on IMDb reads, this is the Internet Movie Database that Hollywood uses religiously, the story behind the Uganda-based YouTube dance sensations who have endured devastating personal loss from famine and war and use the power of dance and song to overcome hardship. Now, I'm wondering, Kev, if this is a situation similar to the Live to Lead documentary where a product exists and then Harry and Meghan slap an Archwell logo on it after the majority of the heavy lifting is already completed. And this caused problems for former New Zealand Prime Minister, I think it's Jacinda
Ardern.
Yeah, who is a member of the Earthshot Prize Board of Trustees. That's Prince William's charity. She was featured in the Live to Lead documentary, and this is after Harry and Meghan have torn the royal family to shreds via Spare and the Netflix documentary. She actually had to speak out and distance herself from the Live to Lead project, explaining to media that Harry and Meghan were not involved at the time that she sat down and did those interviews. She wanted it known that she likely would not have participated in the Live to Lead documentary had Harry and Meghan been involved in it. But another production had executed the building of the documentary, the filming of this project, and then Harry and Meghan slapped the Archwell logo on it and did the victory lap and handed it over to Netflix. So I'm thinking that this project in Uganda is similar to that. Maybe, I don't think that this is something that Harry and Meghan had a lot of control over or had a lot of...
It's just exudes the worthiness of Harry, doesn't it? You know, there's nothing wrong with this, but nobody will watch it. I mean, it'll be a commercial disaster, but good luck with it because it's a worthy cause, I guess.
If we go into at all what you were talking about over text message, Kevin and I are friends, we text. If we go into the charity element of all of what we saw cycling over the weekend news-wise of Prince Harry's charities, you made a very good point about just this white saviorism that we deal with Prince Harry. And I think that that's maybe another, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not trying to be controversial, but I think that that could be another example.
I think it's a real problem. I think this is what Dr. Sophie Chandorka had a problem with Harry, with Sentebale, his charity that he flounced out of, that his favoured form of fundraising was for a lot of posh white guys to get together in Florida, invite a lot of glamorous women to drink champagne and play polo and raise money in that way. Sophie Chandorka felt uncomfortable about that. I can see it. You know, they raise money and then send it across to those little people having all that trouble in Africa. It's kind of odd. And it's typical of people like Harry. It's typical of Harry. All they ever want to do is help people in Africa. Well, that, you know, I'm not trying to be disparaging about that. But what about people kids in his own country? Kids in America, where he lives now? What is all this got to be in America? But what emerged over the weekend, Kinsey, which we would have sort of led off on if it wasn't for this sudden announcement about Netflix, was that Harry is so sort of furious about what's happened with Sentebale. The fact that, in effect, he's been bundled out of the charity that he formed in memory of his mother, Diana. He's so furious about that he's threatening to set up a rival charity to help kids in Africa who are affected by the scourge of HIV and AIDS. Mostly that means they've been made orphans by HIV and AIDS. So he's talking about setting up a rival charity, as if they're going to have charity wars. You know, as if it's all about him. Right, I'll show that Chandorka woman, I'll set up my own charity. What about the kids? What about the children? You know, really? Really? I mean, this this threat to set up his own rival charity is a feat of petulant childishness, which is on a high level even for him. It's pathetic.
Yeah, so this is the Mail on Sunday reporting Prince Harry's planning to, they say, quote, outflank the boardroom rival, Dr. Sophie Shandaka, who accused him of bullying by launching a new African children's charity. They say that he's just determined to continue to work when in this space. And we mentioned this last week. I apologize for not remembering his name, Prince Sisu of Lesotho. They founded this charity in 2006 to honor both of their mothers. And sources told the Mail on Sunday that the Duke is anxious that the fight against poverty and AIDS in Lesotho and Botswana carries on. He and Prince Sisu are keen to work together on a new venture. Now, the Daily Beast in the States reports that sources close to Harry told them that nothing is decided and the prince may instead elect to support other charities working in the same space. But you and I think, will agree here that Dr. Sophie Shandaka really burned him when she declared that Harry's brand was toxic and had become the #1 risk for the charity, and accused Harry and his Netflix crew of disrupting one of the charity's events. To build a charity from scratch, you're going to struggle finding people to support you. Having that narrative out there that your brand is toxic and disruptive, but he's also going to struggle to get involved in other local charities that currently exist with that brand. They're going to be like, do we really want this negative attention?
Yeah. But it is, isn't it? I mean, there is this uncomfortable spectre of white saviorism about it. You know, rich white people in America, or for that matter Britain, Harry being just one of them. It's not fair to say he's the only guy who does this. You know, we've got this thing about helping, you know, poor, underprivileged people in Africa. You know, they never seem to sort of go for South America or the Far East or anything like that. Something about Africa, it's the Live Aid, Band Aid syndrome. But it is uncomfortable. Sophie Shandaka just felt this is a bunch of rich white people getting together to play their favourite chinless wonder sport polo, drink champagne and, you know, dedicate some of their vast fortunes to the kids in Africa. Nothing wrong with that, but it's uncomfortable. It does come across like white saviorism, doesn't it?
I tend to agree with you a little bit, and I'm not trying to stir the pot. It's a little bizarre. I will tell you that if Harry were here, he would defend himself by saying, when I lost my mother, I found myself again. I found my purpose again when my family took me there. I think that is probably his excuse for his obsession with the area and his passion. Passion is probably a much more polite word for his feelings, but actions speak louder than words. And Dr. Sophie told us that, yeah, he showed up in 2024, but prior to 2024, that one visit, he hadn't been there in 6 years.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I sent you a link. I think it was the actor Christian Bale, who I've seen all over LA, building foster homes for children in LA so that they don't have to be separated from their siblings. You've seen Skid Row. Yeah. You know how many veterans are sleeping on Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles. There are a ton of great causes that could really elevate Prince Harry locally in the United States. And he could look like a real contributor and somebody that really cares about the future of our country, if he'd get involved in some localized opportunities. But yeah, he seems to be fixated on getting back what he lost in the form of Senebale.
I'm afraid it's a very common... There's nothing wrong with helping kids in Lesotho in Africa. Of course there isn't, you know. We applaud it. But it is this... always got to be kids in Africa. Always people in Africa. People like Harry, as I say, he's symptomatic of a lot of rich white Westerners who seem to think the best way to show their charitable instincts and their generosity is to bestow their beneficence on the poor kids from Africa, but never next door. Never the kids in East London, the kids around Britain, the kids around America, like Christian Bale's trying to help. I think it's great that Christian Bale's doing that. I'd like to see more of it. Again, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't help the kids in Africa, only help kids in America or Britain. But it is, with people like Harry, they never even think remotely about local kids, local people. Prince William, to be fair, he's got a big homelessness project going on in this country. He seems to be able to think beyond the kind of African paradigm, if you know what I mean. But Harry is incapable of that, it seems to me.
So I know exactly what you're saying. There was I don't want to misquote it, but when Harry and Meghan when their initial Spotify deal was announced, I don't know if you remember, and I was just doing a story about 5 things that Meghan actually never executed, that she
just
teased.
the 5?
Yeah. And unfortunately, I recorded it yesterday, so Meet Me at the Lake was on there, but time will tell, because like I said, actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
But at the time when Spotify was super excited about the Sussexes, they talked about how Harry and Meghan were not just Californians, but they were citizens of the world.
Oh, yeah.
And that really just... like my body rejected that. But we've seen them, since they've stepped back as working members of the British Royal, quit their jobs as members of the British royal family. They want to be seen as these global leaders. I think that's something that's really important to them. And I tell you this because I believe that that's one of the reasons why Prince Harry keeps going to Africa, because he could help build a cute little foster home like Christian Bale in LA, but he wants to be seen as a global citizen, as a global leader. And just building something in LA is probably not going to have that effect on his brand.
Yeah, it's not so optically good. It doesn't produce such good pictures, unlikely to get you on the front page. That is probably the reason. Lastly, I think this is a very important issue. Dr. Max Pemberton has written in the Daily Mail today, questioning the nature of Harry and Meghan's marriage along these lines, and it is interesting. So Harry, as we know, as is his wont, has this tendency to get himself into all sorts of trouble, sort of staggers from one predicament to the next, his court deals, his charity problems, and so on and so forth, his legal problems. So Max Pemberton, he goes through all these problems. We've been seeing him a lot over the last couple of weeks due to the charity problems. And never, ever, when he's going through these problems, he'll sometimes post some stuff. He'll get people to post stuff for him. Never, ever does Meghan speak up for her husband when he's in trouble publicly. Never, ever. She never puts anything on Instagram. She never says anything in public. And Max said, Prince Harry is said to be devastated, particularly about his charity problems. What is puzzling is that Meghan has remained silent. Why does she never leap to his defence, in public at least? It's kind of strange, isn't it?
I do think it's strange, because remember how everybody thought it was so heroic. Well, everyone in the public thought it was so heroic and this big break from protocol when Prince Harry, as a working member of the royal family, was dating Meghan Markle, and she didn't like some of the headlines. So through Jason Knopf and the approval of Prince William, Prince Harry released a scathing statement about racism within the British royal press and their attitude towards Meghan Markle. And there are some pretty blatant examples that I can think of in my head too. But otherwise, Meghan Markle was highly celebrated, and the entire, I know your country was excited about her, but so was mine. I mean, I'd say 99.5% of the press around Meghan when she was just his girlfriend was exciting.
Oh, yeah. The whole of Britain, all of Britain was, and America was too. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. But then Harry kind of interrupts that with this shocking release accusing the British media of racist tone towards Meghan in some of their commentary. So we have seen Harry fiercely, I mean, I know I don't have to say this to you, the Oprah Winfrey interview. We've seen Harry fiercely defend Meghan Markle. He defends her in the Me You Can't See with Oprah Winfrey, talking about like waking up to her crying at night. And in Spare, he's defending her when he violates the Princess of Wales, Catherine's trust by posting without her permission private text messages between her and Meghan in his book. Harry takes up for Meghan constantly, which is why it's so jarring for us to not see Meghan take up for her husband, especially because without question, Harry has sacrificed more in this relationship than Meghan Markle ever could. He has sacrificed his position next to Prince William when he takes the throne, because it's always been said that he was supposed to be Prince William's right-hand man. That's gone. That will never happen today. He sacrificed a relationship with his father, who's currently very ill with cancer. He's sacrificed his children's future within the royal family, because there's no way, in my opinion, that under a William reign, we will see Archie and Lily work in any capacity. He sacrificed his children's relationship with their cousins, growing up with their cousins. Harry has sacrificed so much more than Meghan Markle ever could. She was losing suits as she met Prince Harry. That job was out the door, and she's getting to an age where she was going to be playing minivan mom in Big.
So Max Pemberton is basically saying that, he's been through all these legal problems. His charity has fallen apart at the seams. The Charity Commission report. He is said to be devastated. I think we know that's true. He goes on to say, what's puzzling, though, is that Meghan has remained silent. No public words of support. Maybe behind closed doors she has been his rock. But he says that she basically seems to be far more interested, in her As Ever brand, her Netflix show, and indeed her own birthday. So when it was her 44th birthday last Monday, on Instagram, she posted a picture in which she thanked my husband in passing, didn't name him, no sign of Harry in the pictures. And what Max Pemberton says, in successful partnerships, there is always one person to lift you up when you fall. Without someone like this, life is infinitely harder and less fun. Her silence when he's in trouble, as Max Pemberton points out, it's another uncomfortable thing, actually. It's not very nice to look at. You think, why don't you say something? And I suspect, because she's ever the Hollywood actress, she thinks, oh, you don't chime in when it might get you some negative headlines. So she steers well clear of any time Harry's in trouble, because she doesn't want to be associated with bad stories, right?
Well, yeah, and I tell you that this is exactly what they accused the British royal family of. They said that the British royal family should have stepped up and defended her, and they didn't. So that's she's doing exactly what they accused the British royal family of doing.
It is strange, Kinsey. It's very strange. Listen, very eventful half an hour. That was lots to talk about. And we will regroup on Thursday when I'm sure there'll be even more to talk about. Always great news to talk to you, Kinsey. Thank you so much. Kinsey Schofield there. Host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. I do her podcast, which is called Recollections Might Vary, so I'm quite often on that. I was on the last one. A busy woman. Listen, we better go straight to break. When we come back, we'll take your calls, we'll read some messages, and I will play out some of your WhatsApp voice notes. So quite a lot still to come. Stick around.
The Prime Minister made it very clear in Parliament, in fact, back in February, that he didn't believe these numbers were anything like we were claiming. We were suggesting at that point, I think, between 9 and 15 billion or thereabouts, and he said that was, quote, wide of the mark, suggesting it was much less than this. Well, due to a Freedom of Information request that we have put through, we've established that that figure is vastly higher than that, about £35 billion. This is money that's not there to go on our public services.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Oh my God, just looking at WhatsApp voice notes. We've only got 400, so stay where you are. But play one out straight away, shall we? Here is, we're taking your calls in just a second, by the way. Here's Chloe.
Hi Kev, it's Chloe in Hampshire. On the migrant crisis, Starmer, as a human rights lawyer, must know that none of his legislation is going to get past the European Court of Human Rights. Suella Braverman passed her Borders Bill eventually, which he subsequently scrapped. But even she said that most of it couldn't be implemented because the ECHR would get in the way and that we had to leave it.
That's very good points, Chloe. Yeah, the ECHR is central to our problems, but a little bit of a resolve and we can forget about the ECHR, but we don't show. Most countries just ignore it. But of course, we obey every single clause, every single instruction that the ECHR hands down. We should just ignore it. I mean, leave by all means, but better still, just don't listen to it. Don't take any, but be like the other countries. Don't pay any attention. Quickly, one more voice note before we go to the calls. Sandra on the Chagos deal.
Hi, Kevin. It's Sandra from Essex. I just wanted to speak briefly about the money that's emerged with the Chagos deal, the actual amount. How many lies does it take before a Prime Minister has to resign? Because it just seems to be one lie after another. It's incredible. If this had been, I'm no fan of the Tories, but if this had been Boris Johnson or Rishi Sunak, the Labour Party would have been screaming to the rafters for their resignation. Thank you.
Well, here's the thing, Sandra, there is no limit on the number of lies that Keir Starmer will be able to tell. He's told us hundreds already. He will carry on. I mean, he just, he is one of those guys. How did you tell when Keir Starmer's lying? His lips move. Just seems to lie, as an almost knee-jerk reaction to anything. And he lied about this. He told us it was going to cost us £3.4 billion over the next 99 years to rent an island that we used to control. Why not just keep it? then it would be free, wouldn't it? But it's actually going to cost us £34.7 billion, 10 times more than he told us. Another lie, but, you know, what can you do? What can you do? It's a disgrace, but they have lowered the sort of standards of Westminster, this government. Used to be a thing where governments, politicians, MPs would go out of their way. Could be very circuitous and painful, but they go out of their way to not actually tell a direct lie. Now they don't care, they just lie. Let's talk to Victor in Bedfordshire. Hi, Victor.
Yeah. I mean, my impression so far is this is one of the most treacherous governments for a long time. They're anti-British.
Yes.
And I think that one of the things that I remember that meeting with Macron, when he stood outside Number 10.
Yeah.
With this one in, one out.
The one in, one out deal. Well, they stood behind lecterns, didn't they, to announce it?
One of the things he came out with was our duty of care to the most vulnerable, meaning those guys crossing the channel. I don't think he has. I think my feelings are that he's come to some agreement with
Macron,
with Europe, or someone to treat this country like some kind of human dustbin.
I know a lot of people say that he actually is going out of his way not to solve the migrant crisis, that he rather likes all these foreigners breaking our borders. But I don't agree with that. I think he would like to solve this crisis because that might ensure that he wins the next election. The trouble is, he has no idea how to do it because he's got no resolve. He won't turn the boats round, he won't deport everybody, and so on and so forth. He won't stop giving them free food, free money, free lawyers, free doctors, free dentists, free loads of stuff. He won't stop doing that, therefore he'll never stop the crisis.
He's laying out the red carpet.
Yeah, but I don't think it's deliberate. I just think it's useless, and he's a socialist who doesn't believe in borders.
It does seem that way, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, but I know what you mean. A lot of people think that this is so chaotic, so incoherent, that it must be deliberate. I fear, Victor, it's worse than that. It's not deliberate. It's just chaos and incoherence. But hey-ho, welcome to Labour. Victor, got to move on, but point taken. Thank you. Good call. Call me again. Let's quickly talk to our friend Georgina, shall we? Georgina in London. Hello, Georgina.
Good evening, darling. Well, we've got a government full of Baron Munchhausens. They can't tell the truth, Kevin, at all. There was no reason in the first place for them to give away the Chagos Islands, and the fact that we were told that we would have to pay $3 billion, I think it was.
3.4 billion over 99 years.
That was an added slap in the face for the British people, but now to find out that we have to pay $34 billion and we've been lied to yet again just adds insult to injury. We've got societal, governmental and economic destabilisation here in Britain, and this incompetent government are getting away with blue murder, Kevin, and they're not being held accountable for their actions, and it's totally unacceptable. You know, they're taking away our freedom of speech and accessing of information. They're being allowed to dismantle our once great nation piece by piece without any sort of the aftermath that we are going to be left with. This debt is going to be astronomical. Never mind the 50 billion black hole. We've got another 34 billion to find.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You know what, Kevin? We're left with a country that's called Britain only in name because they've taken away our culture, our heritage. We're being eradicated piece by piece. The first rule of the government is a duty of care to the country and the people of that country. That's us, Kevin, all of us. And this government have defaulted on both counts.
I know.
I don't know how they can keep hanging on.
Well, they seem to just proceed telling us lies and thinking they can get away with it. Georgina, I don't know what to say, but it's an extremely worrying situation, and I agree with every word you just said. As always, I always agree with you. Georgina, I've got to move on, but excellent call. As always, that's the great Georgina in London. This is the government story. This is a government spokesman talking about spokesperson. Talking about Diego Garcia is the island in question. You're looking at the archipelago there. It's a collection of islands, but the biggest one is called Diego Garcia. Sounds like a footballer, doesn't it? And on that island is the military base, the air base, the airport where military planes from Britain and America and around the Western world use it as a very important strategic base to keep an eye on the Middle East and the Far East. It's crucial. But this is what the government said. The Diego Garcia military base is essential to the security of the UK and our key allies. The average cost is £101 million per year, and the net present value of payments is £3.4 billion. This is less than 0.2% of the annual defence budget. The costs compare favourably with other international base agreements, and the UK-US base on Diego Garcia is larger in a more strategic location and has unparalleled operational freedom. Well, the government actuality department, what do they call it? Actuary department. These are the people that pay the money. They literally organise the checks. They say it's 34.7 billion over 99 years, not 3.4 billion. So I read you the government statement. Are they telling the truth or are they not? The actuary department say they're not. 03444991000. Let's go to break. I'll come back. We'll take some more of your calls and some more of your messages, so stick around.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Deb in Devon sent me a message. The abuse that Dame Andrea and her young son have suffered brought me to tears. It does not surprise me that the police won't act upon her complaints. Two-tier everything in this country now. Brilliant show as always, and thank you for keeping us sane. Thank you, Debbie. Deb. Here's Wayne with a voice note about Deliveroo.
Hello, Kev. It's Wayne here from Erdington, mate, Birmingham. So we finally catch a Deliveroo driver and we send him through the courts and we fine him 26 quid. What a deterrent. Like I say, I come from Birmingham. We can't get our bins collected yet. Our local councillors have decided they can pay for migrants to go and watch my beloved team, Aston Villa, play for £1. Yeah. Disgusting, mate.
Well, I'm with you, Wayne, except for I think that, £1 to go and watch Aston Villa is way overpriced, grotesquely overpriced. No, seriously, £1 to go to a Premier League game. Give me a break. Here's Tristan, again, with another WhatsApp voice note.
Evening, Kevin. Keir Starmer, I mean, seriously, he is nothing but a traitor, to be honest with you. He is a pathological liar. And I have to say, I want to know what does he have to do to have a vote of confidence and be pushed out. I don't understand, because any other prime minister would have had to fall on their sword for this, and he just seems to get away with everything. He breaks the law, he lies, he's treacherous, he's just unbelievable. There's scandal after scandal, and he just seems to just brush it off and get away with everything.
That's a good point, Tristan. Always sends a good old WhatsApp voice note. Does Tristan? Thank you for that. You know, again, I agree with you. Let's quickly talk to Carol in Lisbon, Northern Ireland. Hello, Carol.
Hiya, Kevin. How are you?
I'm good. You want to talk about that awful train incident? Yes.
I do, and I'm not joking you, Kevin. When I seen that, it was disgusting. And you know, them fellas who done, you know, who were able to
get him off the train.
Exactly. They all need medals.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, the British Transport Police, they want to find them and arrest them and potentially charge them with assault. I mean,
Exactly.
God, they're the good guys, aren't they,
They
Carol?
are, Kevin. I tell you now, we need more people like that.
Damn
So we
straight,
do,
damn straight. Couldn't agree
especially
with you
on
more.
our streets.
Yeah, this is the problem. It's the police with a twisted sense of values, I think. Carol, couldn't agree with you more. I've got to move on. Thank you very much, though, for an excellent call. Call me again. Carol in Lisbon, Northern Ireland there. Here's Pete on Tony Blair.
I'm sorry, Kevin. I've got to pull you up on something, mate. The Tories are responsible and so are Labour, but the person that's solely and wholly responsible for the start of all this was Tony bloody Blair. And he's still somewhere pulling the strings, isn't he, with his puppet Starmer farmer hater and all the other things that he is guilty of. But I tell you what, where's that Muppet Rayner? Nobody's seen her. I'm always suspicious. When you can't see them, you know they're up to something.
Oh, yeah, old Angela, Big Ange, is on manoeuvres. She fancies the top job. You know, if you think Starmer's bad, wait until Angela gets hold of the keys to number 10. Doesn't bear thinking about, does it? Let's go to break. When we come back, we'll talk to Jason in Sheffield. Stick around, Jason. Back in a mo.
The Prime Minister made it very clear in Parliament, in fact, back in February, that he didn't believe these numbers were anything like we were claiming. We were suggesting at that point, I think, between 9 and 15 billion or thereabouts, and he said that was, quote, wide of the mark, suggesting it was much less than this. Well, due to a Freedom of Information request that we have put through, we've established that that figure is vastly higher than that, about £35 billion. This is money that's not there to go on our public services.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Here's another WhatsApp voice note. This is from Dave. He says we're all going to hell. I fear, I look around me in London, I think we're already there. But take it away, Dave.
Good evening, Kevin. Dave here. The more I see the news,
and listen to the news. I've just bought a handcart. I'm taking passengers. There's only one way we're going, hell. So here we go to hell in a handcart. Good show as usual, mate.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. As I say, I fear we've already arrived at that destination looking around me in this city. Let's do a last voice note. This is Kelvin, basically on everything.
Good evening, Kevin. This government's laughable, isn't it? You know, it's a joke, taking the mickey out of us. They've got us as slaves. Britain has become a slave camp, and the British indigenous people are the slaves. And we're slaves for migrants to keep them in luxury. They get all the luxury, we get all the bills. It's a total joke. Stormy is nothing but a plank. You know, he's brain dead, he's useless. The rest of the party the same, all useless, need to go. And King Charles, I mean, what's the king of? The way it's going, to be the king of nothing before long. And he needs to, instead of being woke, he needs to woke up, you know, and start and do something with this government. And he needs to get him out and call a general election. That's all I can say. Bye.
Well, Kelvin, I'm with you about the king. I wish he'd stop sort of banging on about net zero and the environment and telling us that diversity is our strength and all that nonsense. I wish he'd actually look around him and maybe, you know, assimilate some of the distress of the people. The people of this country are angry. They feel unlistened to. And it doesn't help when you start saying diversity is our strength and all this net zero claptrap. It doesn't help. It would be nice if you really understood what people are thinking, and you clearly don't. Here's a message here from Heather. She says I'm not quite sure what she means by this. The next general election will be a battle of which party will be the biggest winners and the biggest losers. Well, I guess they're always that, aren't they? Ron says, these men on the boats are saying that this is the video of that small boat that Nigel Farage posted. These men on the boats are saying they are the vanguard of an Islamic invasion, because they are. A European caliphate is their aim, and we're welcoming them. It's treasonous insanity. God help us. Great show, mate. Thank you, Ron, for the great show bit, but I agree with you. I mean, it's very worrying. These people singing this song, you know, we're going to take over the world, we're going to take over Britain, Allah Akbar, on their way over, you know. And then we're going to, once they arrive, they were just a few miles off the coast of Dover then, we'll then put them in a 4-star hotel, give them all this free stuff. When you see that video, you think, hang on a second, what we're doing here is embracing and welcoming our cultural enemies. That can't be a good idea, can it? Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Jason in Sheffield. Hi, Jason.
All right, Kev, how are you doing, mate?
I'm all right. The migrant crisis, what would you like to say?
Well, the thing is, do you remember, well, obviously you do remember, because you're an old hack. It's
very old.
Yeah.
Go on, mate.
Well, you're about the same as me, somewhere about it. It's when the previous Labour Party, Blair and Brown, left that letter in the desk, as you know, there's no money left. There is no money left.
That wasn't them. That was, what's his name? Liam. I'm trying to think of the name of the MP.
I can't remember his name now, yeah.
I'll get my top team to Liam someone. He left a message for the Tories. There's no money left. He was right.
it was the last Labour Party, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, well, it was Liam Byrne. Liam Byrne,
that's the one, yeah.
And that was after Gordon Brown lost the election back in whenever it was, 2010.
Yeah.
And he left that note for the incoming Tory government. There is no money left.
Well, what they need to do is leave that letter in the drawer, leave it there.
Yep.
And add another one. There is no money left, which is the original one.
Yep.
And then add another one, which says there is no country left.
No country left. Well, we certainly be heading that way. Certainly not the country that we remember. I think you're exactly right, Jason. Jason, show's nearly over. Got to move on. Call me again. Always good to talk to you. Very quickly, let's talk from me. Who's this guy? This guy, listen to this. Let's talk. Phone me, or are you scared of me? I'm a Labour man, not a sick Tory. And this is from Sean in County Durham. Yes, Sean, I'm really going to spend a lot of time ringing you up. Yeah, I'll give you a call, definitely. You got the guts, why don't you ring in? 0344 499 1000. That's the way, that's the direction of traffic. You ring me. It's a phone-in show. I don't ring you. Do you think you could take on board those parameters and maybe, you know, get with the programme? Call me if you like. Scared of you. Really quaking in my boots about Sean from County Durham. God's sake. Let's talk to Mark in Lincolnshire. Hello, Mark.
Hi there, Kev, mate. You doing all right, bud?
I'm okay, man.
Cool.
Yeah, you want to talk about this the migrant Deliveroo rider who got a 26 quid fine?
Well, yeah, the guy with the 26 quid fine. I was just going to say quickly there, the message you just read out there from Sean in County Durham. Well, I'm from County Durham. He's a Labour man. I was a Labour man. We had an MP where I used to live, where I was born and bred and raised till I went to uni, called Derek Foster. Did absolutely jack for Bishop Auckland. Absolutely nothing.
Right.
Labour never did anything for the North East. If he's still a Labour fan at this point, he wants to stick his head down the toilet and flush the chain. Might help his head out, because, God, honestly, man.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, he's obviously not the brightest pin, sharpest pin in the pack. That he seems to think a radio phone-in is that me, the host, rings him. Doesn't really work that way, does it?
Well, no. Exactly, mate.
Anyway, we're going to talk this Deliveroo rider, ridiculous. So they catch this migrant who's come into the country. He's breaking our laws. He broke into the country illegally. Then we catch him illegally riding a bicycle and delivering food for Deliveroo. He gets hauled into court. He gets a 26 quid fine. I'd deport him.
Yeah, well, you know, that's two crimes off the bat, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, first one breaking into the country, second one, you know, working illegally. We give him a 26 quid fine. But the best laugh about that, Kev, is he's on benefits from us anyway, so we're paying for his 26 quid fine. You know, it's an absolute bloody joke. It really is. And your other callers there, where they're talking about the state of the country, you lose the country and all that stuff. What I found quite interesting that came to my attention today was the plans to scrap the 2031 census.
Yeah.
Now, why would you want to scrap a census? Something that's been going for decades, literally.
Well, I guess